And we're live.
Mm-hmm.
Hey everyone, how's
Gus, Milap, how are things?
Yeah. Yep, doing good.
Lovely day.
Awesome. So this is the Validator community call. Welcome everyone. Great to see many familiar faces and a couple of new faces. So I think let's get started. So just the purpose of this call is to, cover a couple validator specific kind of questions that kept on coming up as been rolling out the network. For those of you that are not familiar and just tuning in, Axelar started the rollout of its main network, which is a phased rollout that would include a number of different steps along the way. The initial steps were simply including getting the main validator set up and running, started producing blocks, doing some basic cross-chain transactions throughout the network to connect various different ecosystems. We already have connections with Terra, with Ethereum, Polygon, Moonbeam, Avalanche, and a couple others. So far, it's been going pretty great. I think we've had a few, upgrades that we had to do on the network along the way, but I think the rollout is going pretty smooth. And I think the other thing, just to, I guess, mention, I guess want to say, first of all, a huge thank you to all of the validators that are participating right in this rollout. I think you guys have been amazing supporters of the project so far. I know some of you had to be kind of on call during the weekends as we're rolling out some upgrades and kind of pretty quickly respond to some of the requests from the development team. So just a huge thank you for being online, for your fast responses, and our goal is to continue iterating through the network, push more features, improve things as we go along. And so fast responses and interactions back and forth with you guys really means a lot for us. So thank you. Awesome. So on that, maybe let's talk about a couple of questions that keep on coming up. And I think the first one, maybe Gus, will ask you. So some folks are asking, well, how long does it take to sync up a node on the testnet or mainnet, and other things that folks can do to quickly catch up and start participating and sending transactions through the network? And maybe you can give a quick update on that.
Yeah, sure. So it's not too long to sync up a testnet or mainnet node. We did have a bit of a slowdown with sync with testnet, but that is now in the past. And we also have some new quick sync services. There are actually two different partners who are taking daily snapshots and posting them. So if you need to sync up a node quickly, you can just download their snapshots, follow the instructions on the docs website, and you'll be up within minutes. And of course, there's still the option to sync from scratch using the peer-to-peer network from Genesis if you want. And that's basically it. Yeah.
And so where can folks find the links to the snapshots and how to get started?
Oh, yeah, I will have to post those. I'll have to dig those up for you. There's two services, though, by ChainLayer and by StakeTab. Let me see if I can dig those up.
Awesome. And yeah, I think we'll link them to the video on YouTube afterwards as well.
Okay.
Awesome. But I guess like the quick place to get started is just the docs portal, right? docs.axelar.dev. I think this is where folks can get started and see some of the links to the snapshot. Is that correct?
That is correct. Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. Awesome.
Maybe I'll post links in the chat here. I don't know if I can do that. Okay.
All right. Amazing. So next question that was brought up is with respect to upgrades for the node participants and for the validators, right? So Milap, maybe we can ask you, I guess, what was the upgrade process over the last few weeks? And how do we expect the upgrade process to change in the future, in the short term and longer term?
Sure. Yeah. So I mean, with the upgrade process, generally, will be we have already tested doing in-place upgrades with Axelar network. So basically, we'll have a governance proposal in place where we'll basically say that, okay, this is going to be the new version that we'll be upgrading to, and there'll be once the voting period ends and the sort of the vote passes, the chain will halt, and then validators are expected to sort of relaunch their node quickly with the new version, and that should be like that'll be the main upgrade process going forward. In the meantime, I guess like for patch releases and whatnot, like the team will try to give a heads up whenever there's a patch release. So if there's an issues, validators can just quickly upgrade to that. But our goal is to keep the upgrade process as seamless as possible. So based on experience we have had from the past weeks, we'll try to aim for that.
All right, awesome. Sounds great. And I guess, one thing just to note there, I think next time when we're doing in-place upgrades that are consensus breaking, we're going to follow the format that's going to be Cosmovisor compatible. So what that means is that when, Cosmovisor becomes available, then folks will be able to, upgrade smoothly using it, or just follow the manual upgrade process where the chain halts and they restart the binary or the Docker to continue from the next block height.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. Sounds good. So I guess the next question that comes up is, what are the channels that we use for communication between the validators and the team, right? And I think in particular, what are some of the regular channels, and what are some of the channels that we'll use in case there is a kind of a more urgent upgrade that needs to be kind of taken into account of the network. Gus, do you want to talk about those things a bit?
Yeah, sure. So as most of you know, we have Discord, and most of you are active on Discord and pretty responsive. And I believe the team is also pretty responsive. So that's been great. And we will continue to use that as a medium of communication. Also, we have some mail lists. So there's the validators mail list, validators@axelar.network. That is primarily intended for outgoing messages from the team to the validators to alert them of urgent matters, as Sergey mentioned. And we are also in the process of setting up a mail list for inbound communication from validators to the team to alert us of any issues that they have.
Okay, awesome. Sounds good. And I guess, on the validator mailing list, the one that's outgoing from the team, I think we're gonna, color code some of the subject lines there so that validators have a better knowledge of, how quickly they need to respond to a given ask from the team, whether or not it's immediately it needs to be responded to, or within 24 hours, and so on and so forth.
Yeah, and if you have any specific requests about that, like that would help you sort of with the monitoring and respond quickly, then do let us know.
Yeah. Of course, the intention of the color coding is that you can set up automatic alerts to trigger based on the color that is listed in the subject line.
All right, awesome. Let's see. So I guess a couple of then technical things we should cover. I think the first question that was asked a few times is whether or not validators are expected to run full nodes for other chains, and whether or not they need to store all of the history there, right? And I think we talked about this back and forth a little bit, but Milap, I guess, do you want to try to cover that? I guess a validator is expected to store all of the history, and is that gonna continue forever? Or let's talk about like some of the plans that we have going forward.
Yep, we definitely had a bunch of questions regarding this topic. So, I mean, based on the discussions from Discord and the discussions that we had, I mean, it definitely doesn't make sense for us to expect validators to run, like to have the full history. And in most cases, we won't need it because the transfers are, quite recent. So, sort of our plan there is that, at least for now, while we test the stability of network, we roll out different features, and we are trying to get the satellite app in from the beta stage. For now, I think if validators, we would like validators to keep all the history, at least since basically the start of this year. And then sort of once the satellite app is stable and the network is more mature, I think our plan is to only have validators keep like the last month or two's history around on all the nodes. That will differ depending on what client, what each client provides for the different networks. But I think that's our goal, and we'll put out more communication regarding that.
Yeah, awesome. Sounds good. Yeah, and I think one other thing to note there is that I think in the longer term, Validator is not expected to run nodes for all the chains that we support, right? It's an opt-in mechanism where you have to register as a chain maintainer to vote on events from a specific chain, and you'll be incentivized to register as many as you want, but you're not forced to, right? And assuming the network passes a certain threshold, then events from that chain are being processed by the network and kind of relate to all the other chains. So, right now this threshold is a majority, I believe, of the validators need to vote correctly on the events from the chain. We may adjust it for some chains or all chains as we continue kind of growing the network, and then you as a validator can kind of decide which chains you want to support, and both the inflation mechanism as well as rewards are going to be structured to incentivize you to support as many chains as possible.
And yeah, just to emphasize, at this early stage, we strongly encourage all validators to support all chains.
Yep, for sure.
Yep. And to recall, the incentives we have for external chain support is basically, we provide like 2% inflation rewards per external chain. At least, that's a current parameter, and we can revisit that as needed.
Yeah, so I think there will be more announcements like from the team and the foundation on what the precise inflation rewards would be and like what the parameters are set. But yeah, the goal is to effectively give something on the higher orders in the early stages of the network, and then it gets kind of adjusted as the network continues to scale and as we get more and more chains supported through it. Awesome. Next question that comes up about delegations, on the test network and then the main network. Gus, do you want to talk a little bit about that, about the thinking?
Yeah, sure. So basically the process is we would like to gradually onboard validators into mainnet. And the way we start is you have to build up a track record of good performance and standing on the testnet. So you have to start there. We also have a questionnaire that you complete to kind of like indicate and explain to the team and the foundation like your processes in place and your redundancy and possible different geographic locations and all that stuff to kind of just to have an idea of the level of availability we can expect from your validator. And obviously, the higher the availability, the better the redundancy and so on. The more likely it is that you will make it onto the mainnet validator set. So I mean, I guess that's basically it. It's like you start on testnet, build up a track record there, and then get onto mainnet. Is there anything else there to mention?
I mean, I guess a couple of other things, right? So I think, we discussed just yesterday that we're going to open up the testnet channels, I think in the coming week or two, right, for everybody. So you'll be able to kind of spin up a node and start registering there. I think that's one thing. The second thing is that as we continue going through the phases of the network rollout, because technically on the protocol layer, anybody can become a validator, right? And eventually, when the token is live, you just need to collect enough, delegations from the community to be included in the active validator set, right? So it is a sort of permissionless process. We are going through a couple bootstrapping phases in the early days just to get some folks going. And I guess one other thing just to note there is that the governance token, the Axelar token, is not live yet, right? So it's kind of a right now it's a kind of a validators are just running the nodes, participating in the consensus, and we'll continue kind of rolling out the network in this phased approach as we talked about earlier.
Yeah, to be clear, so if people are asking for tokens or something like that, you're not sending those tokens to anybody. There are no transfers of Axel tokens at all on the mainnet right now.
Yep. Awesome. Sounds great. So another question that I think kept on coming up from the validators, I think they want to understand a little bit more of what it means. What is a kind of heartbeat that they're seeing as one of the messages propagated through the network, right? And what is a kind of TSS or multi-party suspension period. What does it mean for them, at least in the early days? And maybe, Milap, if you want to cover those things.
Yep. So, participants like validators who have been on testnet and mainnet, they have noticed that we have these separate sort of processes that they have to run apart from the main node, which are like valid and toughened. So these processes are used to participate in the voting for external chains and to submit signatures for submitting data to external chains. So to measure liveness for these processes, we have this notion of heartbeats, where once every 50 blocks, the Valdi will broadcast a heartbeat message. If your Valdi is not broadcasting heartbeats, then it won't be included in participation for keygen sign and whatnot. And the idea is that like if you don't have enough liveness, then you won't get some other rewards too, because you're not showing that. So some of the issues we've seen is like missing heartbeats from validators and different statuses they get. So I mean like the troubleshooting steps there essentially is like pay attention, like monitor your Valdi processes, Valdi and toughened process, like periodically do health checks on them as mentioned in the docs. Make sure they're configured correctly. Like one of the things we are planning to do is that like currently the scripts are that we use that we have for validators to join the network are a bit opaque. So we're going to try adding more documentation around sort of the specific commands that are running and what needs to be done there. So I think that should help validators understand what Valdi and toughened are trying to do and what the configuration for those is. One of the other things you have noticed there is like issues with the RPC connections. So we noticed that sometimes the RPC nodes that validators have linked to Valdi don't quite work, or the nodes have an issue, or the RPC connection itself has an issue. So there, like I recommend validators to monitor their RPC nodes and make sure that they are live. They can they give the appropriate response. And they can monitor Valdi logs to see if there are errors corresponding to RPC connections. And we'll try to improve documentation and sort of monitoring aspect here for validators.
Sounds good. And I guess one parameter that we changed recently, right, on the network is this TSS suspension period.
Yeah.
Do you want to cover that, and what does it mean?
Yep. Yeah, I can talk about that a bit. So the idea there is that because Valdi will be sending if you have enough voting power, then you'll be included in participating keygen and sign of the external data. If you have been included in this, and for example, if there is a sign request and your Valdi fails to sign, and in fact, many other validators sort of fail to sign, and we don't receive a majority of signatures. In that case, the signature doesn't complete, and anyone who did not actually participate incorrectly will get this suspended status. What this means is that for a certain period of time, we will we won't be able to participate in further signing for security reasons. So there, before the parameter was about half a day worth of blocks. We changed that to one hour recently because if there are issues during, say, an upgrade or some other issues, like you can have a failed signature, and that would cause a majority of validators to sort of go down for half a day. So we decided that 1 hour is sort of the right balance for now, so we can resolve these issues as they come up quickly.
Awesome. Sounds great. So I guess that's pretty much it in terms of high-level questions from us. I think there are a couple other points that we wanted to bring up and discuss with all of the validators that are on the call. So maybe let me get into those first. So first question, it's a general question, I think, for everyone, and you can use the comments chat here to post some sample answers, and we probably should have like a deeper discussion on our community page after this. But the question is, how many external nodes on average would you prefer to support, right, as you run in the Axelar validator? So, for external nodes where you need an RPC endpoint, you have to set up that endpoint, you have to point the RPC, you have to maintain it correspondingly, and so on and so forth. So it's not it's not as straightforward as running like an isolated validator node. You will be incentivized correctly to support as many of those external chains as possible, but there are sort of physical limits of what makes sense, right, and what doesn't make sense. So this is a general question, and I would love for folks to just comment in the chat here. What do you think is a reasonable number of chains that you should support from Validator, right? Is it 3? Is it 5? Is it 8, 10? Given the fact that the more you support, the more incentives there are, but there also means like more monitoring and more troubleshooting steps that you're going to have to set up in place and make sure everything runs correctly and smoothly. So yeah, I guess if folks can want to just comment with their answers, that would be great. Perhaps another thing we're going to do is we're going to set up an open forum at Axelar. Let me see, what's the website? Yeah, so we have a public forum community at Axelar.network, I believe. Is that correct? Or .dev? Which doesn't seem to be loading for me now, at least. Is it loading for you guys?
Checking.
All right. Well, we'll link it in the notes after the video.
Yeah.
Right? But so I think it's community.axel.network. For some reason, it's not loading. So maybe that's we should take a look at that. We can start a forum there and we can discuss. So I see some answers. Every chain, 2 to 3, 5 to 10. Okay, I guess the better place for this would be actually this forum going forward. Max 10 chains, depending on added value they bring, usage they have.
So I would imagine, at least in principle, for some validators with a lot of infrastructure, it might be possible to just support all the chains. Is that even realistic for anyone?
Yeah, I mean, I guess like the difference is that some validators, already run nodes for many chains, and then for them, the liftoff cost is pretty negligible, right? You just point in RPC endpoints. For some other validators that we have that don't necessarily have nodes for other networks, then the liftoff is higher, and that they will have to, spin up those nodes and expose their RPC points and set up their monitoring tools. So that's the difference, I think. I think in principle, yeah. Onboarding a new chain and registering an RPC node, if you have a node that's 1 minute, right? You just change the configuration file.
Yep.
Awesome.
I did see one question about sort of Valdi commission. I guess I should mention there that like all the messages Valdi are sending actually just refunded. Like so in terms of like the cost there, it's much more minimal to run the Valdi process. It's more so like maintaining external chains is where it's more expensive for validators. Hence we incentivize that and participating in multi-sig.
Yeah. I think one thing though that we probably should discuss also in a forum after this call is whether or not there is a kind of at least a recommended sort of minimum commission fee that we want to kind of encourage the validators to set. Because I do want to I think emphasize that I guess the setup is more involved than on other chains, and so the rewards will also be higher correspondingly, and so maybe we should discuss of what the minimum at least recommended commission fee that we'll suggest to all of the validators. And I don't know if we want to enforce it at the protocol layer, but that's definitely something that I think would love to hear opinions and kind of thoughts from the validators that are participating right now.
Yep.
Awesome. So I guess, those two things, I think we'll start forums and post the link to the channel, and folks can continue commenting. Any other questions in the meantime? Let's skim through the chat. So if I understand correctly, after 2 weeks, we can start a testnet validator. Yeah, so the goal is to open up the kind of the testnet for folks to start participating in it over the coming weeks. And so you'll be able to join and start playing. All right, well, Gus, Milap, anything else from you guys?
I mean, just, I guess we just got a great response from the Satellite app, and it's, we appreciate all the validators that have, working with us throughout this last month and even earlier on the testnet to get the network up and running. It's been great to have everyone.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I think it was actually super exciting, right, to see that as soon as we opened up like the app and stood up the network, there were like 10,000 transactions, right, in the first 2 days, which I think great enthusiasm for everything we're building, great support from our community. So appreciate all of you, and again appreciate the validators for getting us to this point.
Yeah, and I would just echo those two sentiments from Milap and Sergey there. Every day I'm impressed at the dedication of our validators, and willing, like, responding within minutes to any incident, anytime, day or night, on the weekends. I'm just shocked, frankly. It's amazing.
Awesome. Sounds great. So I think we can wrap it up here. As we said, we'll follow up, give a couple links to a couple community forums. We can start some discussions there. If there are other topics you want to start, let's use the forum to continue those conversations, and we'll iterate and continue building. Like I said at the beginning, we are going to be making more upgrades on the network. We have pretty deep roadmap and plans of, and I think next year is going to be super fun as we continue scaling the cross-chain ecosystem. So thanks for participation. Thanks, Milap and Gus, and we'll see you soon. Thanks, everyone. Bye.
See ya.